Okay, well, another thing that we'd like to remind you about at your practicum site is that you will have a great need to be flexible, and in fact, we have just exemplified that. Dr. Melanie Morris had a situation she needed to step out and attend to, so we have just shifted gears and we're going to roll right along here. But that's probably something that you need to keep in mind too. There will be days at your site where it will not go like you plan it. There will be things at your site that will not go as you planned, and we just encourage you to have a sense of flexibility and a willingness to roll with that situation.
Particularly in the nonprofit world, you will have clients who no-show, who will say yes, every intention of being there, and they don't have the bus fare, or their car broke down. And so there you sit on your site expecting to have those client hours, which means you are flexible and you go look at notes, or you go read, or you do something else. So it's knowing that when you go to your site, you are prepared to do any number of things. If we had every client show who said they were going to show, that would be, I don't know what that would be, because that never happens.
Heaven?
So yes, that might be a therapist's heaven, because people are showing up. You're going to have no-shows, and you're going to have people 2 at a time, someone who thinks I was supposed to come at 11, and there's someone who comes late and hopes you're available for 11. So flexibility, knowing that you have a range of things that you get to do at your site. At any moment, you get to be called on to do any number one of them.
And just the opposite may happen too. You may have clients on your second day there because that's
Right.
the need that they have.
Yeah,
So,
my
yes.
experience with flexibility goes with creativity. Because, like you guys have mentioned, it's never going to be exactly like we expect it to be or we hope it to be. But my experience has been that most times that I had a no-show, for example, maybe another coworker, maybe a supervisor, or somebody else in the agency also had a no-show. And if I approach flexibility with creativity, I might actually be able to get some incredible time learning about that agency, learning about somebody's career. I think for me, I remember having a no-show and just walking around the hallway and then finding somebody else just kind of there doing some, paperwork, and I would ask them, hey, do you have a minute? I would come in, sit down, and say, hey, we haven't had time to talk about, this agency. I'm really interested in some of the things that you're doing. Would you mind letting me know? How has your career brought you here? And I think taking it with creativity. At times it will be like having a book with you that you're like, I've always wanted to read this book about therapy. And that time, you become committed, or even, you make a commitment with yourself to say, if I do have a no-show, I'll use that time to read about this theory or to read about this new technique. And those things would be really helpful.
Your best practices guideline that you go over at the very beginning can help you shape that. So if you have this time, you can go, let me go back and look at the best practices. What do I want to focus on in my next supervision meeting? What do I want to talk about? So you're gonna be carrying around a binder that's pretty thick. Have that be in the binder so you can immediately flip to that.
Yeah.
Using my supervisor's time wisely, which one of these do I want to talk about? Absolutely. But I like that, linking it with creativity.
It's a great
It's
idea.
a time that you can use.
Well, and along those lines, another area that we'd like to talk about is the idea of professionalism. And I think what you were just talking about was really a sense of still being a professional even when things don't go exactly according to plan. So what other things would students need to know about professionalism at their sites?
It's regional. If we were in Washington, D.C., I would tell you as women, you don't wear open clothes shoes. Know that it's regional. Here in the South, there's going to be what's professional for women, there's going to be what's professional for men. If you've been in a faith community your whole life, think Sunday evening attire. You don't want to think church in the sense of suit and tie, or for men, or stockings or hose. You don't want to do that, nor do you want to show up in your jeans. You want to dress as if you were doing a presentation for a class. You don't need to wear your interview suit, but nor do you want to, also then from your site, go to a swimming pool or go picnicking. Clients are coming in expecting you to be professional, and dress and uniform is a part of that, absolutely.
So what you're saying is professional dress is really going to be dependent on the site
Right.
and the
Right.
clients that you work with.
Right.
Yeah.
You-
And one of the things I always like to add, just when we're talking about professional attire, is that if people are looking at you and they're thinking of your body parts, it is not appropriate.
Right.
So just be aware of that you want to make sure that what's covered, what needs to be covered is covered, and that you're just professional, so that when people look at you, they see a counselor and not think of other things.
Right. In Practicum, I've had students talk about that. The clients have commented on their clothes, and the clients have commented on aspects of their clothes. And part of my thinking is, okay, what were you wearing? Not that it's the student's fault, but you get to notice, if I'm going to wear something loud like this, chances are that's going to draw attention. Or I get to wear something comfortable, then that's going to fall in the background, and we can focus on the content of the session, then becomes the most important thing. So you'll figure this out. Watch what the other professionals do at your site and ask them, this is what I was thinking. Would I need to do this? Is this going to be okay?
In the first few days, you might want to err on the side of overdressing.
Yes.
I think one of the things that come to my mind is also that although it will not be an interview the whole time you're there, you will be in your longest interview as you're doing your
Yes.
practicum. Every single minute you're there, you're being, I don't want to say evaluated, but they are paying attention to you. They're there.
They are evaluating you. Go ahead and say it.
Yes.
They're
I don't want you to
evaluating
be
you.
paranoid, but I think I do
Yes.
want to pass on the idea that there has been no place that I've worked at that at the end of that relationship, a connection there would lead into the next part of my career. It could be a letter of recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a job in that site, on that site. And it could be also, what has been my experience for the most part, has been that conversation that comes something like this. Hey, we would love to hire you at the end of your practicum or your internship, but at the time we can't. But I know of this place, and I have this really good friend of mine that we have attended this conference, and as soon as she said that there was this position open there, your name came up. And I think that's one of the things that you cannot quantify and you cannot prepare for. It is all about your consistency as a professional at that site. You cannot escape it. You cannot prepare for it one day and then relax. It is something that you carry yourself the whole time that you're there at that practicum site.
And I would add too, the world of counselors is actually a fairly small world. And, I even had an example where I had a colleague who asked me for a letter of recommendation to apply for a job in the Northwest, quite far away from here. And it just so happened to be at a college with someone who I went to school with. And so the world is very small. To be able to make that personal contact in a referral can be very important in getting a job. And so, yeah, look at this as a good job interview and always have your best foot forward.
We talk about dress, but it's the way that you talk with your colleagues. It's the way that you address your supervisor. It's the way that you address your supervisor in emails. We probably have all gotten letters and emails from students that start with, hey, I was wondering if, that falls under the what not to do category. So you get to think, I love the idea of an extended interview, because you will find that if you really, really like the site and it's a good fit between expectations and what you're experiencing, they are looking for, are you interview material? Do we want you to come around again? My favorite story is there was a student who loved where she was, and exactly that. They wanted to hire her, but they couldn't because of budget. Nonprofits are ruled by budgets. 6 months later, I'm doing the site visit again because now we have another student there. And I was talking with the supervisor saying, this is really bittersweet, because I remember when this student, and I said her name, and she said, oh, she's working for us now. The budget had changed, they had an opening, and this student had kept in touch with them and had made such, she's now part of their staff.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I like the idea of an extended interview.
Great.
So they're
Without
watching
the,
you.
without the sweaty palms.
Exactly.
A more
Yeah.
comfortable interview, yes.
Yes.
Well, what about involvement with professional organizations? What do students need to know about that?
Join as a student, and the one, he's gonna talk about some specific ones, but the one that, as a professional, I get a lot of information on that I end up passing to students is the Tennessee Licensed Professional Association. And so it's tlpc.net. I got an email the other day on their listserv. The listserv is incredibly active. Someone had just taken the major exam, and she had failed it the first time. She had then asked the listserv, coming up again, what resources do you recommend? She listed which ones worked for her. She passed it, yay! But she's putting that information back out on the listserv. Job postings frequently come up on that listserv. So that's one I'll put a plug in for.
That's a good practical organization
Absolutely.
to join. And
It's-
as a
it's your
student,
local.
is the rate discounted?
Yes,
Great.
I'm gonna say yes, I think it is.
All right.
Now I'll talk a little bit about ACA. Part of the reason ACA is the American Counseling Association. It's a national organization that we are also very involved with, and we encourage you to be involved with as well. And what I'm going to do now, I'll put up the website counseling.org, and as you're looking at the website, I want you to look at membership and then membership benefits. As you can see there, one of the primary membership benefits that we want you guys to have by joining this organization is a professional liability. And it's actually required for your practicum experience because it will cover any liability you might incur during your time doing your practicum. Now if you go back a little bit, you will see a link to join and then students. The student rate is $94, and you are expected to have that membership prior to beginning your practicum. The way to join is really simple. You can join online, or you can print the PDF and send it over the mail. There's also a video that you guys can watch that will tell you a little bit more about what are the benefits for students that join ACA.
One of the nice things on that site is the resources, and they have article after article after article. So you're learning that, yes, you can go to our library's website, but to be more specific on this area, I would suggest you go to ACA website first, look under the resources, look at what articles are there. A lot of resources like that, a lot of networking opportunities. They have opportunities for students to do student posters at their conferences. It's an excellent thing to be thinking about the next paper that you write. Could I turn it into a student poster at a conference? Plus, you get to go to cool places like, where did you go?
Hawaii.
Yes. Yes. So
Great.
you could have gone as student poster
Yeah,
and followed Dr. Riviera to Hawaii.
it was nice. The conference, the talks were amazing.
Yeah.
I could not get out of that conference hall and just eat it up.
Sure.
That's great. Yeah, and I'd like to also add that on that site, those resources that Dr. Samuels is talking about would be ones that would be really nice to maybe have readily available, downloaded on your device or something like that. And if you have that extra downtime, you could be reading those articles at your site. When you read those articles, those count towards hours in your site. And Dr.
Absolutely.
Morris will be talking more about what those hours are and what to expect from that. But anytime you can get in those extra hours, it's nice, and you're also learning more about the profession. They also have podcasts there to download, and one of the things that I like to say is that if you have a commute, that's a great way to be actually logging hours on your commute, because you would be listening to a download, so you're working on professional development during that time. So it's a good use of your time.